In today's Leeds news, James on squad unity, Eigor Piaou to Leeds latest, and Longstaff on Newcastle similarities. Morning folks, welcome back to The View for Monday morning the 28th of July with your Leeds United news. 23 days left until Leeds take to the field in the Premier League to face Everton on the opening day of the season. There's a lot of ground to cover between now and then. There's some friendlies, there's more signings needed to come in the door. Definitely minimum 2 for the starting 11. And Leeds have been very busy over the course of the weekend. We'll get to the Eigor Piaou situation as well. Also to point out, we're not going to cover it in much detail today, but Lucas Perry did finally finalise his deal to Leeds United over the weekend. He's a Leeds United player. 7 signings in the door now so far. So it's been a good window for Leeds as it stands right now. We're into the marquee territory of signings. So we'll see how they get on. Also, if you want to support the channel, you can do so through our Fanatics links down below. You'll see links to the retro kits, to the training gear, as well as Leeds' new away strip, the blue one, for next season. But we'll start today by catching up with Daniel James, who, fresh off the back of signing his new 4-year deal at the club, was speaking with Baron Cross in The Athletic about the vibe around the camp right now and the importance of this squad gelling as soon as they can. Leeds have added 7 new players to their side, and the bulk of them will find their way into the first team match squads. That means that 7 other players will find their way out of the match squads. But the dressing room environment is massively important to making sure Leeds start the season positively, and that environment in the dressing room is incredibly important. Last season's objectives for Leeds United were a very different set of objectives. Leeds were expected to win every single game and needed to, in most cases, win every single game, where this season Leeds will likely face the prospect of losing far more games than they win during the course of the season. So character and a strong attitude will be needed in the dressing room if Leeds are to get past that. And on that topic, Dan James said the following: "It's having that willingness together to be strong as a unit. The team's obviously a lot better this season, and also individually as well. You have players that can just change games in a second. So it's about the team unity, also that belief that we can do what we did last season sometimes when we can control games more, and having the belief, even when something is going against us, to continue to trust the process on what we can do." Again, leaning back to the old Howard Wilkinson line of trusting your swing when it comes to taking to the pitch. James said that he believes the recruitment over the last 2 seasons has been excellent for Leeds United, and adding some game changers on the pitch to some depth off the pitch has been a real positive move for the club. Getting all the new players to gel in this Leeds United side for next season will take games and a little bit of time. Players will need to get used to understanding the new styles of play, understanding the relationships with their new teammates. The country will be a factor in that as well, and then trying to deliver on the pitch together. All of that will take games and time, but getting the togetherness right will lean on the attitudes and atmosphere behind the scenes in the dressing room, and Dan James believes the Leeds have the characters to do so, and believes the characteristics and the quality of the players being brought in will be a major factor in helping Leeds next season. Let's hope that that does follow through. Right now off the pitch, everything seems to be very, very positive. I'm not losing the run of myself talking about Leeds getting into European competitions at this point. I still think there's a lot of ground to cover when this team starts the season. Time will be needed for this team to gel once they're all on the pitch together. Let's move on. Let's talk about an injury recovery update. And new Leeds United defender Sebastian Bornauw picked up a slight quad injury a week or so ago in pre-season training and has sat out Leeds' last 2 behind closed doors friendly. The defender isn't just sitting around doing nothing. He has been hard working through his rehab and took to Instagram to give everyone a very brief update on his situation. In the short update, Bornauw posted a picture of him working out and literally just said, "Working hard, we'll be back very soon." New styles of training, travel, just pre-season load in general can all cause these kind of minor issues that these players will pick up at this point of the season. But Bornauw is expected to miss 2 weeks in total with this injury. He's already missed a week. He's expected to be back in and around things before August the 5th. So should be back on the park before Leeds take on AC Milan and Villarreal. So not a really big issue at this point, just a minor little knock that he has to just deal with for now. Let's move on. Let's talk about the chunkier story that's been floating around over the weekend, and that's Eigor Piaou. And in a busy weekend for Eigor Piaou's stuff, there was no real point in jumping on last night and talking about the L'Equipe speech. L'Equipe is they're hit and miss at the best of times, L'Equipe, so there was no point in doing a late night stream on a Sunday night just to talk about a piece from L'Equipe. But there is some more detail this morning, and I wanted to give you the full detail of what has happened over the course of the weekend. So let's get the blow by blow of where we are on the Eigor Piaou situation. On Saturday evening, Fabrizio Romano tweeted that Leeds had improved their offer for Eigor Piaou and wanted to get the deal done ASAP. Romano also said that Leeds were pushing with the intention of closing the story and reaching a full agreement with Feyenoord. The French media's stance on this has been unusual to say the least. Over the weekend, some publications have said that Marseille were waiting for Leeds United to get a response to their latest bid before they would then attempt to hijack the move at the last minute. One French outlet went a little bit of a step further and actually told Marseille that they should put in a fourth bid for Paixao, which I haven't seen any publication ever do before, to tell a team what they should and shouldn't do. Leeds United sporting director Adam Underwood is said to have Paixao as top of his wish list this summer. Leeds have talked an awful lot about having stretch targets that might be more difficult to get done, but if they can, would really push the project on a lot quicker, and he wants to get this deal done as quick as he can. Last night in L'Équipe, they put out a piece that suggested that Leeds were close to finalising a deal with Feyenoord for the purchase of Eigor Piaou. L'Équipe claimed that Leeds were on the verge of completing a €32 million move with bonuses, so roughly between 29 30-ish million pounds, but that Marseille were still waiting in the wings. This morning, more information that came out from the Daily Mercato in France claims that Leeds had overtaken Marseille in the quest to sign the player, and the French club were now out of the picture, but there are conflicting reports on that sentiment. Roma's brief interest in Eigor Piaou has now said they've switched to other targets as they've moved on, and Marseille are also in the final processes of finalising a deal for Timothy Weah, who is primarily a wide player, so that could be their next move away after Paixao. Leeds' current offer is said to be more than Marseille can afford, but that hasn't fleshed itself out in the public environment just yet. But Nicolas Shearer this morning on X has also confirmed that he believes that Feyenoord and Leeds are on the verge of a deal of a combined package of 35 million, about 30.5 million pounds, and that includes bonuses, which is what Feyenoord are said to want. Personal terms are not said to be an issue with the player at this point. Paixao has been very impressed by Leeds' proposal that they put on the table for him, and there's no issue, and he's said to be keen to join up with Leeds. He's also said to be keen to join up with Marseille, depending on what you read and where you read it. If this deal was to go through, it would make Eigor Piaou one of Leeds United's most expensive players ever. But there is still some reports today stating that Marseille will try one more time with a bid to try and convince Paixao and Feyenoord to let a player to come to them. If Leeds get a negative response today or over the next couple of days. At this point, the deal is still not a done and dusted deal. It won't be done and dusted even if we get a here we go from Romano. There will still be ground to cover on this. So I'm holding off on getting too excited about this until it gets to a stage where it looks like it's coming from more credible journalists that this deal is nearly done. I would say again, L'Équipe are not the most credible all the time. So take that with a pinch of salt and wait and see what comes out from the local media today. Leeds are said to also to have other targets of a similar level to Paixao should they not get this deal done. But the fact that Leeds haven't walked away from the table at this point, even after their initial bid was rejected, really points out that Paixao is Leeds' marquee target this summer, and they are pushing incredibly hard to get a deal done to get him into the club. So there is still ground to cover on this. As I'm doing this right now, I'm still keeping an eye on the updates this morning to see if anything new has come out. As of right now, the information that's out there is still a little bit conflicting. So just, don't take everything L'Équipe say as gospel in this situation. There is still a lot of ground to cover here. So we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see. If anything happens this evening, we will jump on with a live stream that's more credible. We're not going to do live streams for a little bit of tweets unless it comes from Fabrizio Romano. Let's move on top of the final story of the day, and this comes from Sean Longstaff and the similarities between the Leeds United project and Newcastle United's project. In a piece in The Athletic, Barncross sat down to speak with Sean Longstaff in a really good interview with the player, and he spoke about the Leeds United project and why he moved to Leeds in the first place, as well as the similarities to Newcastle after their takeover went through. Longstaff described his departure from his boyhood club as emotional, but added that he was excited about joining Leeds United and reflected on his journey to this point. Longstaff said leaving Newcastle was bittersweet after 20 years at his boyhood club, but Leeds' interest felt genuine and personal, and Daniel Farke played a major part in getting this deal done. Longstaff pointed out that Leeds right now feels very similar to Newcastle after their takeover, and the Ellen Road atmosphere was also called out as a major factor in his decision to make the move. He talked about being in Ellen Road when Rafinha picked up the ball, and the sound of the noise and the expectation once he had it was something that he won't forget, and was a major factor in him making that decision to come to Leeds. On the similarities between Leeds and the project, Sean Longstaff had the following to say. It's a massive, massive football club, similar to Newcastle in a lot of ways. Leeds has a similar feeling to when Newcastle got taken over. The buzz, the energy, that sense that something is building. It was going to take an awful lot for us to leave Newcastle. And to be honest, I wasn't just going to leave to go anywhere. So it had to be the right place for me and my family. And I think it's a perfect place. Longstaff then went on to speak about Daniel Farke's conversations with him and the impact that Farke had in that move. And then on that topic, he said the following. The manager has been brilliant with me. From the first conversations, I felt that he really understood what I could bring and how I could fit into this team. His attention to detail is top class, and you can see that the impact he's already having. The lads are buying into it, and there's a real sense of direction. Anton Stack, after he joined Leeds United, spoke similarly about Daniel Farke, spoke about the phone calls that he received from Farke and the impact that he had and the importance of having that finer level of detail on what the player can do, not just positively, but also what areas Farke can help them to improve in. As I said at the start of the video, there's a lot of positivity behind the scenes at Leeds United. We'll see if that finds its way onto a pitch, and we'll hope that it does when Leeds take on Everton in 23 days' time. There's still a bit of ground to cover. If Leeds can get Paixao done, if they can get a striker in, then maybe Muniz, maybe somebody else, then Leeds will need to go work on possibly just fleshing out a couple of bench positions just to make sure the squad is full, but not vitally important at this point. But you would like to see maybe a right back cover coming in if Isaac Schmidt's to move on, but we'll see what happens there. But get these next two out of the way, and these are the ones that will take time, and these are the bigger moves that Leeds will need to try and get right this summer. So yeah, a lot of ground to cover, a lot of excitement still around the place. If anything happens between now and tonight, I will jump on to give you the update on Paixao. Outside of that, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by purchasing anything from the Leeds store via our links down below in the description, or buying our own Leeds United hoodie and merchandise from Back 4 Clothing. The links of that are also down below. Folks, outside of that, I'll be back tomorrow morning unless anything happens. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.